When I do come, I'm gonna have an arsenal of entertainment. Okay, you ain't gonna do nothing, so I can get close to what I want. However you want it, that's how I'm gonna give it to you. I'm giving it to you just like you want it. I don't know who you beat, I don't know who you lost to. Easy work. Easy work.
What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego. I'm back with the panel. Surah, we got Conrad first time, Ricky Williams in the building. A lot going on in boxing. Let's just jump straight into it. Errol Spence Jr. defeated Danny Garcia via unanimous decision. I need to go through the list, the people that are here right now, and we'll start with you, Surah. What did you think of Errol Spence Jr.? Much was said about how he would look, good or bad, before the fight. What did you think after watching the fight?
Man, he looked amazing. He looked like the old Errol Spence, other than he gassed out a little bit and he took a couple rounds off, and I noticed that. But other than that, man, he was on point. He was same. He was the same, and I wonder how he'd have looked if he wouldn't have gotten into the accident, if he fought him and he was on point the way he is on now. But he looked real good. He destroyed that jab. Danny couldn't get away from the jab, and Danny caught him with some good stuff, but Errol just walked right through it. It was a good performance. Good stuff by Errol. Shout out to Errol.
Yeah, after seeing how it all played out, I picked Errol via decision, so I got it accurate. After seeing how it played out, I really feel it would have been worse for Danny if he hadn't gotten an accident, because he would have been coming from a September Sean Porter fight, and then he would have been fighting him a week before Super Bowl in January. So there wouldn't have been that layoff. The car accident is one thing, but it wouldn't have been a 14-month layoff or whatever he was on. He would have been real sharp and right back on it. Because Derek James, his trainer, said that he couldn't even spar for a minute until recently.
Yeah, like September, something like that.
Yeah, it was like late September, August, something like that. So he wouldn't have been able, like, he would have been real sharp, I think. Even like he was already sharp. Ricky, what you think?
Yeah, I think it was an excellent performance coming back from a long layoff period. You know what I'm saying? That jab was everything. I think people don't give Errol Spence jab enough credit, man. That he controlled everything with the jab. Everything came off that jab. Danny could get nothing off, because whenever he tried to set, Errol had that jab in his face, man. It was a great performance. And like, I agree with Stewart. He got a little tired. He was a little rusty, which is to be expected, after such a long layoff. But for anybody to be the first guy to dominate Danny like that says tons. It says tons. Nobody's walked through Danny like that. Nobody.
Anybody disagree with that? Because I agree with you, Ricky.
Man,
has anyone beat Danny in that like worse than that?
Nope.
Yeah, man, Danny's been competitive. You know, my thing before I let you go, sir, I was gonna say the thing that I noticed is I was watching Danny and I could feel like I felt when the rounds where he started getting discouraged. He started getting demoralized because like Ricky's saying, he couldn't get off. He couldn't get past that jab. Errol was clearly strong. And I seen the fight getting taken away and Danny increasingly become deflated as those early rounds went on, like by round 4 or 5. And you even heard it in the corner. Angel Garcia said something to the effect of like, Danny, what are you doing? I mean, you're not getting beat up, but, you got to throw more punches. And you could tell they were kind of fretting a little bit. And I never seen that. What were you saying, sir?
Yeah, I never seen Danny get beat like that. He just stalked Danny, man. He was like he's just stalking him, man, just making him fight, like, man, throw punches. And then Danny would get his gold-plated punches off, and they'll eat him and keep coming. So I know that was discouraged. Like, man, I just caught this dude with one of my best rights, right on the chin, right on the jaw. Earl eat it, come right back at him, man. That had to be like, man, this dude a monster. He went just for survival. After a while, you can tell he didn't do what he could have did. He didn't throw the punches because Errol's answer was a lot more painful. So he just did what he could.
You say Errol's answers were more painful.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Danny ain't no punk though. He he ain't no punk, but what Errol did to him, man, I never seen him look like that. He did look deflated.
Yeah, Danny tough, man. Like,
Yeah.
he tough, man. He took some hellacious shots. So this to me was like watching Leo getting beat up. You know what I'm saying? It's like he took some hellacious shots, man, and kept coming. So kudos to Danny's, man. Shout out to Danny. He's still a tough mofo. Danny's still a hard out for a lot of people, man. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, like it was. See, people, they always do this to take away credit, but it was more of what Errol was doing right. Like I've seen fights where a person wins and the person just wins based on what the person didn't do or something like that. This wasn't that. Danny was really out there trying. He landed some hard shots. I like Danny's body attack. He clearly had a chin. So if Errol really got all the way tired, where he was like arm weary, then that could have been a bad fight for him. But Errol, he neutralized, nullified, and boxed well in the spots where he did get tired. Like, truth be told, any round you would have gave Danny Garcia was still competitive, which is crazy because Danny never had a round in this fight, to me, where he just clearly won the round. You know what I'm saying? It was all competitive, and it was just basic fundamentals. How many rounds y'all give Danny Garcia?
I gave Danny 3, 9-3.
Yeah, I gave him 3. Probably, 3. 4 at the most, and that's if you're being generous, but 3. And I'm being generous with that.
Conrad, what did you think of Errol Spence?
Before I give my opinion on that, I appreciate you letting me join in on this talk. I don't really have much to say. I mean, other than what everyone else has been saying, it was a great performance. I'm kind of a new boxing fan, so I'm kind of just soaking up as much information as I can. I can't really say, uh, you know, anything negative about it. It was a great performance. You know, kudos to how Danny took the loss. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about that.
All right, appreciate it. Ricky Williams, is there anything Errol Spence needed to do different? Or could have did or should have did different?
Not really, if you asking me personally, right? Like I said, it was beautiful what he was doing. Like what he would do was he kept Danny on the jab, right? When Danny would try to, because Danny came at him with about 3 different looks. What I saw, 3 different looks, right? But what will happen is that Errol keep on a jab. Danny would try to do a rally, but what he'd do, he'd slide off, get another angle, start right back on the jab. He basically used Danny's slow feet against him, right? So whenever Danny tried to move or get an income move, he'd slide over, get an angle that Danny couldn't hit him at, bop, come right back with that southpaw jab. And that southpaw jab won the night, man. And everything else just came off the jab. He was hitting him. The right-hand jab. He was hitting him with sweeping lefts, you know what I'm saying? A straight left. He had that one where he double jabbed him and came right down the pipe with the left. I mean, what else could he do but knock him out? You know what I'm saying? And who knocked out Danny?
Keith Sweat voice. Nobody. Now, one thing that was pretty amazing to see is, like Sura said, Errol's really back. Like, people had questions if there's going to be any kind of lingering damage or reaction time is off. One thing that was impressive is Errol's level of confidence was there from round 1. Like, this man came out like he didn't even get in a wreck. Like, I noticed that immediately because there's a sequence in round 3 where Errol Spence, I think he feinted and jabbed, and then he caught Danny with this like looping left hand, and Danny was like rocked and kind of fell backwards. And I'm like, damn, he just really hauled off on Danny, and he knocked Danny off his square with that. It was just a hard shot, and that was in round 3. The fact that he even tried punches like that early in the fight, he didn't like warm up and let the fight marinate and get firm control. Because even the great Floyd Mayweather, he uses the first 2-3 rounds maybe to get some data on you. This man act like he ain't missed a step. He just came out and by round 3, he was, put it this way, Errol Spence's best rounds where he really, really was shining was even in the beginning of the fight, first half of the fight, most of them. So the level of confidence he came back to, like he really is almost, in my opinion, at peace with himself and what happened because he just came into it like it was a regular fight. Good to see.
He also he would catch Danny, and I don't know if y'all peeped it. Whenever Danny would bend down to coil up, Earl would step back, and then when he go to uncoil because he know he out of range, Earl hit him right back with the jab. Boom. Danny bend his head down. He coiling up to throw the hook or coiling up to throw the overhand. And when Earl would see it, Earl would throw his punch, and he kind of in there. Then when he see Danny tip that head, he back out, throw that jab, boom, right after Danny uncoiled. So that kept Danny at a distance. That kept Danny on point. Like, man, I can't get it off. He tried it a couple times, and Earl just stepped out of range, and then hit him with the jab afterwards. It was a sweep.
Yeah, there was points where I thought he was bullying Danny like bad, like he was beating up Danny's body combinations, and Danny I think I seen Danny Garcia kind of retreating. We don't really see Danny like retreat or he like walking trying to get some space from somebody because the fight is being brought to them. So that was very impressive to see just Errol driving him back and the body shots. I don't think Danny liked them body shots at all. And Danny being a timer, someone who has good timing, impeccable timing, and countering ability, most people aren't as courageous with Danny's history of like Amir Khan knockouts, how he's setting those Philly left hooks up and stuff. They don't standing in trade with him like 2s and 3s punches because of what happened to people like Amir Khan, and he will time you with that. But Errol Spence, he didn't miss a beat. What were you saying, Ricky?
Yeah, just what you were saying, that he Danny throws with you. You know what I'm saying? But Errol controlled it. He basically controlled him with that jab. It was beautiful boxing, man. Like I said, a focused arrow is a dangerous arrow. I like this arrow, man. Like if we can get him out of there, get him out of there. But when your boxing ability is so high that you're gonna have to tussle with them dudes, come on, man. It's damn near impossible to beat him if he stay on that path.
Yeah, I liked Errol because I thought he was a combination of the Sean Porter Errol and the Mikey Garcia Errol. He gave you a little bit of what he gave you. Like he fought whole fights. He fought Mikey Garcia pretty much as like kind of like the boxer with a lot of strong power, but kind of boxed him, jab, controlled him. And then Sean Porter, he showed you he can be in the trenches, dog fight, man down, slug it out, and stuff like that. This fight, what I liked is he gave you a little bit of both. So it was like Danny Garcia was kind of in between a Mikey Garcia and Sean Porter type of personality, full-fledged welterweight, but also someone who can counter you and time you, just like Mikey can box and good technical abilities. So he kind of gave you sprinkles of both of those, the Sean Porter Errol and also the Mikey Garcia Errol. We've seen all of that wrapped in one. And he did it at home. Sometimes people have like, didn't Salido knock out Juanma Lopez twice in Puerto Rico? So some people have that like hometown hijinks stuff where they just get bodied at home. Errol he's built for this. He can deal with the pressure. Really like what I seen. Were you guys shocked? Anybody? This is an open panel question. Were you guys shocked by how Danny's face looked at the end of the fight?
Yeah, I never seen Danny look like that before. I never seen anybody bruise him up like that. I never seen Danny look discouraged like that before. So that says a lot. He just was like Earl had his number, man. I never seen Danny like that. And Danny's a tough dude, man. Danny's like a dude you can bet on, far as he gonna be in that fight, regardless. And that one, just like Earl took the steam out of him, man. He tried to rally in the last 10 seconds of the 12th round, but I never seen Danny look like that. And when Earl would get in him and press him and start just get real close and start hitting him to the body and roughing him up, and he was getting up out of there. He wasn't trying to stay there. So, and that's another thing. Normally Danny is sitting there and try to catch you in an exchange. But when Errol had him in there, man, he was just wailing on his body like that, man. Danny was getting up out of there. He wasn't sticking around.
Eloy, I don't know if you have audio, but you can chime in if you want, or if you're just here listening. What are you saying, Ricky?
Well, I was shocked with how he swole up like that. Because Danny's not a guy. I mean, Danny been in there with some pretty decent punches, and he never swole up like that. So that lets you know how hard and stiff that jab is. You know what I'm saying?
Matisse, Keith Thurman, Porter.
Right.
Nobody had it.
Ain't nobody swole. You know, he gave him that.
If anything, Matisse looked like that, right?
Yeah.
Matisse was the one that was looking like broken eye looking.
Yeah, man. So Errol, like his upside is it's only up from here. It's only up from him. Up for him.
The reason I know that Errol Spence did a number on Danny Garcia is because Danny Garcia has been involved in some close losses and close fights, and his team never really admitted to none of those. Like, they won't say they lost to Mauricio Herrera. You know, I thought Mauricio Herrera beat him. You know, they won't say that they lost to Keith Thurman or Sean Porter. They felt they won those fights. I think there's another one that was kind of close, but those fights they didn't cop to that. But it seemed like they were pretty accepting of the Errol Spence. Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah, it was the Lamont Peterson. They don't feel like they lost those fights. But with this fight, you didn't really see any resistance from them, because Angel post-fight, he was just saying, yeah, Danny disappointed me. He wasn't doing this. Like, he didn't really say, like, we won the fight. But versus Danny and Porter, they're like, nah. And then the Keith Thurman, they were saying, like, I was at the Danny Porter fight. Angel said he was going to start selling bricks or something like that. He said, because they trying to kick us out of boxing, I'm going to sell the kilos. He was hot. And Danny even cried at the post. But this, he just kind of just ate the loss and accepted it. Like, it was the better man won. So that really showed me that Errol Spence did his thing. Now, we got a new person joining, Matt. Danny Garcia. Hey, Matt, what's up?
What it do?
What's up? We just talking. Oh, you got your dog. What kind of dog is
that?
Yeah.
A Yorkie. I just came back from the vet.
What is your dog's name?
This is Cairo right here.
Kyra. That's a dope name.
Cairo.
Like Egypt.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What's up, Cairo?
Yeah, he's just having a bad day.
Oh, yeah, because I got back from the vet. He probably mad.
Yeah, he might have cancer. It's horrible.
Oh, horrible. I hope.
Yeah, man.
I hope not. Right now we're talking about Errol Spence, Danny Garcia. What were your takeaways from that fight?
Errol Spence just you know what? He's like Tim Duncan, Mr. Fundamental, right? His fundamentals are just so off the charts. He didn't do anything magnificent. He just dominated like the entire fight until he just gassed out, and then he just let it ride to the end. It was just a masterful performance. He's gonna beat, I know Ricky's probably here. He's gonna beat Terence Crawford whenever they face each other, but probably never. I hope he gets that Pacquiao fight. So that's my key takeaways. I thought it was an awesome card, better than I expected, and well worth the price.
Shout out to Matt and shout out to Joseto Lopez. I love underdog stories in boxing. I think Joseto Lopez, he ain't getting enough credit. Like, bro, whatever happened has gotten into him recently. He been putting on some solid performances, like where he really, like, he just retired his last two opponents. So shout out to Joseto Lopez, John Molina and Chia Santana. He put on some good performances. He kind of caught some bodies, and John Molina's a sheriff now. Santana said he's retiring. Shout out to Joseto. It was a good card though. I agree with you.
Joseto will put hands on you, boy. People don't understand, man. Joseito's
he's experienced, huh?
Yeah, man. He's a litmus. People don't understand that he's a great litmus fighter. If you fight Joseito, you're gonna know where you at, bro. You're gonna know where you at.
What do you think of Terence Crawford versus Joseto Lopez? Is that comparable to who he's been fighting, Crawford?
Nah, I think Joseito is a level above those guys he's been fighting, to be honest with you.
So it's better than the Mean Machine fight?
No doubt.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better than Mean Machine.
All right, we're going to get to Crawford in a second and talk about that. Danny Garcia, where does he go from here? He's 0-3, I think it is, at the welterweight division. Are there guys he can beat? Like, okay, let's say he doesn't get a title. There's only a couple of people with titles. Crawford, Spence just beat him, and then Pacquiao. So what type of fight do you want to see? Can he beat top guys? Like, can he beat a Ugas or whoever else is top non-champions at welterweight? Or is it just he was better at 140?
he might be able to get you guys. You guys got some boxing skill, but he get touched, and he got hurt by. Shout out to Abel Ramos. I know Abel Ramos. He got hurt by Abel Ramos twice, and I think if Danny's a good finisher, so if Danny catch you, he's gonna start obliterating you with those bombs. So it'll be a good fight. I think that'll be a good matchup between him and you guys. He got to get a win on this belt and then fight you guys, and then it'll be worth watching. But that'll be a tough fight for you guys. I think Danny maybe at a time you guys can catch him, and if Danny can hurt you and you don't know how to hold and keep your wits about you, Danny will finish him.
Anybody else? Danny Garcia, where's he go? Name a good fight for him.
I think he could still stay within the PBC because they got a good bevy of welterweight still in there. But like I agree with Surah, he gives you guys problems. You guys, if he try to stand in front of Danny, he can get knocked out. He can get knocked out.
What about Danny Garcia, Adrian Broner? That good fight?
I'll take Danny. That'd be a good fight. I'll take Danny in that fight.
I like that fight.
It depends on which Broner shows up, but I still would take Danny because Danny is committed to what he's doing to the business of boxing, and Adrian gets thrown off, man. So I would take Danny in that fight by decision, unless Adrian changed and flipped the script.
All right, what about Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia? I love that fight too.
That's a good fight.
That's a good fight.
That's a good fight.
That's a good fight. Because Danny, he's going to be bigger than Mikey for sure. Garcia versus Garcia? Stop. Let's get it.
G versus G? Yeah, I'll take that'd be a good fight. That's a 50-50.
What you think, Ricky?
What I miss?
No, I'm saying, do you have a favorite in that fight?
Oh, and Danny versus Danny? Garcia versus Garcia?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it'll look real good on the marquee, that's for sure. Garcia versus Garcia.
Yeah,
but
Garcia squared.
I would take Danny. Just because, like, Garcia too small. You know what I mean? I mean, he's good, but he's not great. And we all know a good big man beat a good little man. So I would go with Danny on that one.
Got you. All right, let's talk about it. Errol Spence, to me, bona fide star, 16,102 people, I believe, was the reported attendance at AT&T stadiums. He and Pacquiao are the only boxers that have two-peated at the AT&T Stadium, Dallas Cowboys Stadium, Jerry's World. Is Errol Spence the A-side over Terence Crawford?
Yeah, without question. His pay-per-view numbers alone gets him the A-side over Crawford. And he has most of the belts. Then you throw the belts in there. And then you got the household recognition. Yeah, he's definitely the A-side.
The pay-per-view numbers came out?
No, he's talking about his past ones like Porter and Mikey Garcia.
Those are both 300K. So Crawford, I think Crawford most he did was maybe $120, maybe.
Terence Crawford says regarding that, he says, well, look like the fight will never happen. He also tweeted, it's crazy when somebody tell you to take less money when you put in yours life. I'm just reading it verbatim. Life and health on the line. But I bet if I went to any of y'all jobs and said, cut the pay, they pay, and pay them less, y'all cry a river and say y'all need a new job. So shut that stupid ish up. What do y'all got to say about that? Like,
it's not like an excuse to me, man.
It's all depending what I would gain from it, bud.
What do you mean by that?
What's the gamble? What's the risk, right? You got to take a risk in life. So if he's using what he's saying as an example, if you come on my job, I work in IT, I'm a contractor, right? If they came and said, okay, Ricky, for a month, right, we're going to give you less money, but if you do this for less money and guaranteed at the end of this, if you do what we need you to do for less money, you get double your pay. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to take the biscuit, right? But I'm going to make sure that paperwork in order. I'm going to make sure that contract right. I'm going to make sure them numbers is ready because I'm a contractor, right? Let's just be honest about Bud, man. Bud don't negotiate with terrorists.
Hold on, what'd you say? Did you say it again?
Bud don't negotiate with terrorists.
Explain. Hold on.
Bud can make any fight with any bum ass fighter. No disrespect. No disrespect. But these fighters that we know are below his level, he can make those fight happen. You can negotiate with Amir Khan. You can make that fight happen. Yo, you can negotiate with Kell Brook. You can make that fight happen. But you get in there with a terror, a killer, somebody who's again a monster around the corner. It ain't no talking. Oh, Keith Thurman. Nah, nope, ain't nothing to talk about. He ain't got no belt.
Hey, you wild. At first I thought you said Bud don't negotiate with Terence. And I was confused, but you said terrorist.
With terrorist.
Right? You made sure to drop his phone and all types of stuff.
If they a threat, Bud's not talking. He's not shaking on money. Right? But these guys he know he can beat. We can make it happen. We can shake and move then. Right? Bud don't want it. He want the check. Bud want that check. I ain't mad at him. But what I don't like is the facade that he playing.
This man said facade.
It's a facade.
Why is it a facade? I just want to let the audience know Ricky Williams' point of view.
Look at here, man. So let's talk about what just happened with Kell Brook. You got his fans and his people saying that this Kell Brook is better than the Kell Brook that Spence fought. We got a fighter that's been further. So you telling me he gets better with time?
He might. What if he's like wine?
Nah.
Pinot Grigio.
What
you mean?
Wine?
Nah,
what wine you know that's good in Europe? Right? None.
I don't know no European. No, but they say wine gets better with time. That's what I'm saying.
But he doesn't. Right? All these everybody's
not a wine.
Everybody that Bud has on his resume that is even and worth talking about is questionable. That's Amir Khan and Kell Brook. Right?
You mean just at welterweight?
Yes. I don't like I said before, man. Bud, you can't keep living off that comp. This is not Hot Tub Time Machine, bro.
Hot Tub. You wild.
What you did at 140, yes, that's your legacy now. But you're in this is the glamour division, correct?
True.
Is this not the glamour division?
It is.
Right?
Historically, welterweight
right?
is cracking.
So let's break down facts. Like I said, they fans, when I get in an argument with Bud fans, it's all these what ifs. Let's talk about what really happened, right? So we saw after the Kell Brook win, right? Bob said we was in negotiations. We had pretty much had the Pacquiao fight ready for November, right?
Yes.
Okay, so why wasn't
Qatar, right? The Qatar, right? Okay.
Yes, but why wasn't Pacquiao training?
hey, Ricky Williams, stop! Why are you doing it like this?
Right? Why have you wasn't Freddie Roach and Cali?
No,
that's real.
That's a good point.
You wasn't never gonna get the fight. It wasn't no fight there. What is y'all talking about? Y'all knew who y'all was going after.
Hey, Ricky Williams, that he dropped some sauce right there. Listen, he dropped the sauce right there. He said, "Why was it?" He said, "Bro, I already knew the Pacquiao thing was capped because, listen, how you gonna make the fight in a pandemic year? Like, if anything, that seems like a fight that would probably warrant a crowd, or you would want a crowd for. Then you're gonna put it in Qatar. I don't even know how many boxing fights they even had over there in Qatar and Bucharest and Saudi and UAE and all this. I don't know, but." How you gonna do it without a crowd? So you could have told we've been doing the pandemic since March. In March, Bob Arum said that the Pacquiao fight is off the table because he wouldn't make it because he don't want Pacquiao to get brain damage, and it only ends one way. The video's on Fight Hub. You know what I mean?
It's only excuses coming from one side. I don't get y'all logic, right? Errol done told y'all what it's gonna be. Bud is the one who keep talking greasy. Errol told y'all, I'm going to clean out my side and then I'm going to come see you. Has he deviated from that plan at all? Besides the car accident?
Hold on, Matt has something.
No, that was amazing. I mean, I totally feel what Ricky's saying. Like, Terence only wants to drink Bordeaux, right? He just wants to drink some top shelf Bordeaux, but the only thing he's paying for is MD Mad Dog 2020, and it's like, dude, you just in two different weight classes, pay scales. Like, you need to come with something more than, hey, I got $2 on some alcohol. Like, just, Terrence's problem is he has no business sense. Like, it's clear Terrence needs some real people behind him that could just steer him in the right direction. He shouldn't be making any of these decisions, right? Because obviously Bob is done with him. He's like, Bob has said, I brought fights to him. He's like, nah, I just want this fight. Nah, I just want this fight. But he doesn't want to put the work in. And I apologize for the dog. He doesn't want to put that work in to get those big fights. He just wants the big fight, and he wants to base it off of what he did 2 weight classes ago. And that just doesn't make sense.
I definitely think that's fair. I mean, it'd be one thing if you were fighting Errol Spence at 135, 140. You were undisputed at 140, but you're trying to fight Errol at 47. And that's in that division, Errol is the man. You see what I'm saying? Like, let's say I worked at Microsoft and then I get a job at Apple. Microsoft, in my experience there, may have gotten me I landed this position at Apple, but whatever, if I was employee of the month at Microsoft, that don't have no bearing on Apple in the promotion and how to get a promotion over there. And if I had great sales with Microsoft, that don't really have nothing to do with lacking sales at Apple, you know what I'm saying? Which was my current endeavor and whatnot. So yeah, you're only as good in boxing as your last performance and stuff like that. The Kell Brook fight to me was pretty weak. Just the whole telecast had audio sync issues and I couldn't log in. It was ill promoted. They didn't do a good job promoting Bud. ESPN top ranked black fighters. I haven't really seen a definitive game plan. Like I feel PBC, when it comes, they're very multi-cultured and eclectic, and they've done a great job with building the names. Like, you want to see David Benavidez's next fight. I'm curious about Andy Ruiz's next fight. I want to see Errol Spence's next fight or move, or Gervonta. I mean, Gervonta just had a killer knockout with Leo Santa Cruz. So, people want to see that. But I think they've left more to be desired with Terence Crawford, where it's like all of his same, it's like the same echelon of fights that we're getting from Crawford. There's not one that really sets, like, if you ate, it's like people in college, they eat cup of noodle because they're broke and stuff. So they eat cup of noodle every day. Where's the filet mignon? Where's the surf and turf? Where's the salmon? Something different, And I think that's where people are getting with Bud is we've been in the college dorm room and people are tired of just a cup of noodle. A cup of noodles is cool. I eat cup of noodle, but you don't want to have a cup of noodle every day. You've already went through all the flavors. You know what I mean? The beef, the shrimp, you try to sauce it up, chop some hot dogs or something, put some chicken in it, but it's still a cup of noodle at the end of the day. And I think people want that steak. And I think Bud has to be, like Matt just said, he got to be realistic. He got to be realistic in terms of the business and the sense. You demanded 60-40, but Errol's outselling you in a pandemic. That's not my opinion. The numbers are showing that. The numbers are showing Errol is doing 16,000. When you look on TV, there's nothing that makes me believe that number is not real. Bud versus Jeff Horn did 8,000. Look it up. Bud versus Jeff Horn, after his very next fight, after being undisputed, on ESPN, I think the fight was on, or HBO, whatever it was on, he sold 8,000 in Vegas, non-pandemic, 8,000 tickets. Errol is a bona fide star. People are trying to fight Bud and his crew in Dallas, so they're really trying to protect, they're trying to protect. He's a hero out there, and he's selling double what you're selling in a pandemic year where social distancing practices are an actual thing. So it's just like it's this anti-PBC type of rhetoric where it's like you see people keep blaming Al Heyman and Errol Spence, but nobody blaming Bud for his business decisions. Nobody's blaming Bud for re-signing in 2018 without at least exploring what else was out there. And that's the reality. This is a business. So you got to make business decisions. Ari, what up?
How's it going, Eagle? What's going on?
Good, and good to have you.
What's up,
Thank
Ari?
you.
Man, we're just talking and chopping it up. This man's smiling. Look at Ari. Ari's a good dude. He's Ari. What's your Twitter? He be tearing
It's
y'all up on Twitter. I be
Ari,
seeing it.
Ari Boxing _. It's Ari Boxing Talk on Twitter.
Don't mess with this man on Twitter. He'll eat you alive. I've been seeing he been putting in work.
Man, dudes be crazy on Twitter, man. I don't know. They just be making shit up.
Oh, clearly. Ari, we're talking about Errol Spence. Quickly recap, because we're kind of moved on to some other stuff. Quickly recap what you've seen from Spence and Danny Garcia.
Man, Errol Spence looked great. He completely outclassed Danny. It was almost a repeat of what he did to Mikey Garcia with the outboxing. But he did take more chances in this fight. Like he stood in the pocket longer. He went to the body more, and he looked great. I think he answered every question. If anybody that had doubts if he was healthy or not. He got hit very little, but the times he did get hit, he took the shots well. He fought great, and he just looked spectacular. In my opinion, I always thought that Crawford versus Spence was a 50-50 fight. But after watching this performance, I think Errol Spence got him. Just my opinion.
I still don't know, but I can see where some people would draw that conclusion, because you got to look at Kell Brook. He was a big welterweight. Kell Brook's jab had Crawford's eye like cut or something, or swelling. And I had Kell Brook up, and he obviously got dogged and knocked out in the end. But Kell Brook had a good sturdy jab, and you've seen Crawford's face or his eyes start to swell. Errol Spence's jab, he got that big long Texas jab. Pause. Charlo's got a good jab. It's something that they're training out there for sure. And he looked to be bigger than Terence Crawford, and it's also a southpaw versus somebody who's probably better at southpaw in Crawford. So it's a great fight regardless.
And that's one of the reasons why I would pick Errol Spence, is because if you look at when Crawford fights in the orthodox position, which he was fighting Brook in the beginning of that fight, he does get hit. When Igis Karnakas dropped him, he was in the orthodox position. Now, once he switched to southpaw, that's when he just completely takes over and just dominates. But he's not going to be able to do that with Errol Spence, because Errol Spence is a southpaw as well. So he's not going to get away with that. So I feel that Errol Spence will neutralize that and then get to him on the orthodox position when Crawford is on unorthodox.
Damn, already kicking some boxing sweet science. It's definitely debatable. The fight's not made or anything like that, but Errol Spence been chewing up orthodox fighters for sure. And then we would be seeing how he looks versus southpaw. Who's the last southpaw that Errol fought?
It was Van Heerden, and he's like, and he fights southpaws different than he does orthodox. He's more aggressive. He was more aggressive with Van Heerden, and his 1-2 was off the chain against the southpaw.
Van Heerden up.
His 1-2 was off the chain against the southpaw. So I would like to see they lined up southpaw. And Van Heerden was bigger than Bud. I don't know if he's stronger than Bud, but he was a lot taller than Bud. Van Heerden might be about 6'2", 6'1", or something like that.
Bigger than Errol, you saying?
He was bigger than Earl and bigger than Bud. Van Heerden. Van Heerden was tall and rangy. So, and Bud isn't rangy, and he was the way he fought him as a southpaw. You thought that he'd be kind of hesitant because they both southpaws, but man, he went right at him. Man, it was like a different. It was like he turned it. It was like, oh man, this is easy work. He just went towards him. He fought him different. He fought like when you see two orthodox fighters fight. He fought a southpaw like it was no problem. The same, like, okay, it was no problem to him. So I'm gonna do a homework assignment and look up Errol Spence versus other southpaws, because I remember the Van Heerden fight. Shout out to Jaron Boots Ennis. He about to fight Van Heerden a couple years later. That's a good fight to show us how he looks and stuff like that. But I need to watch some Errol Spence amateurs from other southpaws he fought. I'm very curious. Real quick, Ari, were you surprised with Danny Garcia's face, the punishment that was shown? Hold on, I don't know if you can see that, but how his face looked at the end. Were you surprised? Has anyone else done this to Danny, in your opinion?
no one has beat Danny the way that Errol Spence just beat him. And this is after coming off the car crash. The fights, Danny Garcia versus Keith Thurman, were close fights. I had Keith Thurman winning. And then I also had Sean Porter beating Danny Garcia, but his face looked nowhere near that. Another thing is that people were saying like, Danny Garcia didn't throw enough punches. Danny Garcia threw over 700 punches, which is the second highest output that he has done in any fight. The problem was that Errol Spence, he just neutralized. Errol Spence completely neutralized that no left hook that Danny throws, and Errol Spence was moving, was not in range. He was moving in and out, and he completely neutralized Danny's offense. Danny did get some good body shots in, but that's all he was able to do. He wasn't really able to land anything solid. Errol Spence completely neutralized his offense.
Thanks, Ricky. I seen you shaking your head. What is Ricky thinking?
Yeah, like I said, he's not going to be. Terence is not going to be able to out southpaw Errol. I've been saying this for so long, man. He's not going to be able to do it. What makes it so bad? I keep telling people, I take the bets. It's going to be easy. I'm telling y'all right now, it's going to be easy. Errol's going to beat Bud easy. I stand on that. When or if this fight ever happens, if Bud gets some act right, because Bud need to get some act right to make this fight happen, Errol's going to beat him easy. Bud is not everything everybody thinking he is, bro.
Why you say that?
He's just not. He's not. Like I said, just like you doing right now, Ego. What people don't understand is the more he talked, the more I analyzed his career. Everything, he's been moved carefully, and people don't want to acknowledge that. Danny cleared out the killers at 140.
He did.
This is at BoxRec. This is at BoxRec, guys. This is not me making stuff up. Go to BoxRec and look at who fought who. He had the lightest. Did he unify? Yes, he did. But he had the lightest touches to get there. Why do people keep acting like certain fighters not better than other fighters? Like just because you beat a dude, that dude was just because a good fighter beat a dude, that guy had to be a decent fighter. No, it's levels to this game.
Definitely levels. Like one thing I will add is Bud made a comment that he said that basically Danny Garcia ducked Victor Postal, which, at best is debatable because he did, I think, pay him step aside money. But one thing that Terence Crawford did not reveal is Victor Postal's best win leading up to the Crawford fight was Lucas Matisse, a guy that Danny did fight. And people said Lucas Matisse was going to knock Danny out. And Danny had his eye looking jacked up. And I thought he looked good on the Mayweather-Canelo big card back then. And Victor Postal got Matisse and stopped him. And that was his best win leading into the Crawford fight. After the John Molina tough fight with Matisse, which was like fight a year, Matisse got dropped twice. And after, importantly, Danny had beat Matisse. So, Danny definitely fought the tougher names at 140 for sure. Amir Khan, they were talking about giving Amir Khan a Mayweather fight at that time. He was going to move up to 47. Mayweather was in prison after, for 90 days or whatever after the Cotto fight. So I remember that timepiece. And Danny ended all that talk by stopping Khan. So he had to rebuild. Good conversation.
And it's like I said in the chat the other day, people don't understand, man. Bud's done nothing at 147. Victor Ortiz has a better resume than Bud at 147. Victor Ortiz. What does that mean? That means that, what does that mean? He's not fighting Victor Ortiz. Some guy told me in a live chat the other day. Like, that means Bud ain't fighting no competition. Iron sharpens iron.
Wow, that's deep. Yeah, you think about it. Victor Ortiz does have a good resume. He fought some tough guys, man. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Victor Ortiz, if you look at their welterweight resume, he got Bud. Man, yeah.
Who got Bud?
Victor Ortiz, as far as welterweight.
Who said
he
that?
Ricky, yeah.
Or a welterweight resume. Victor Ortiz has a better he's fought in tougher competition at 147 than Bud has.
Oh yeah, I mean,
a
he got
better resume at
Mayweather.
147.
And he actually, shout out to Victor. He was actually in there with Mayweather. He did better than Canelo in them. Obviously did. I'm lying. Victor Ortiz was looking all right. He was those first 2 rounds. He got frustrated because Mayweather started getting saucy on him, and then he got 2-piece. So it was like it ended. But Victor Ortiz wasn't looking bad. People forget that. But Berto, 2 fights with Berto. Who else did Victor Ortiz fight? Luis Collazo. Yeah.
Jose Riverside Rocky.
Oh, Joseto.
Maidana.
Maidana. That was at 140, wasn't it? That was at 140.
Yeah, my bad. You're right.
But it's still resume-wise, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah. Berto. Yeah, he been in there with some tough dudes, man.
My thing is this. Oh, my bad.
No, you go.
No, I was just gonna say, like, this. I predicted this on the channel for anybody who listened, that Bud was inevitably gonna reach this point where he's too good to fight just anybody, and he was gonna get to the point where he already ran through everyone his side had to offer, and the playground that bolstered the plentiful names and the better names for him to fight was clearly PBC. And I think a lot of people, we didn't reinvent the wheel. That's why people question him re-signing with Top Rank in 2018, because they felt after a couple of fights, they foreshadowed this moment. Who would Bud be fighting in a couple of fights? Like, if he continued to look like he's been looking. See, here's another thing that Ricky Williams and me have talked about. It's just like how competition matters. I know Ricky Williams always say that competition matters. Competition matters. Bud is he's a great fighter, but he's the only one with all knockouts at welterweight. Think about it. Every welterweight that Bud Crawford fought was a knockout, but every welterweight that Mikey Garcia fought, he couldn't stop Jesse Vargas. He couldn't stop Errol, but those are top, pretty much top names. Errol Spence fought Mikey, couldn't stop him. Fought Danny, didn't stop him. Fought Porter, didn't stop him. Porter fought Berto, stopped him, but didn't stop Granados. Danny was the only one to stop Granados. So Porter couldn't, with a hurt hand, couldn't stop Granados. Couldn't stop Keith Thurman. Couldn't stop. There's a pattern to this. Why is Sean Porter is fighting tough ass competition? And guess what? He can't stop everybody. Keith Thurman couldn't stop Pacquiao, little ass Pacquiao. He couldn't stop him. He couldn't stop Porter. He couldn't stop Danny. So no other welterweight is able to just stop everybody they're fighting. Pacquiao didn't stop everybody at what he couldn't even stop Marquez in the 3rd fight or the 4th fight. He got stopped in the 4th fight, and Pacquiao's a Hall of Famer. So people need to see if Bud is just this spectacle and this anomaly that he just stopping whoever. You know what I'm saying? He's just so good, he's going to stop everybody. Maybe that's the case, but we got to see it in order to see if that's really what the situation is. But other than that, the jury's still out. Like, I don't know if Danny Garcia would lose to a Mean Machine. I wouldn't favor him to lose to Mean Machine or Porter. Would you?
Hell no.
Does Mean Machine beat Keith Thurman, Porter, or Danny?
No.
I don't even think Keith would probably struggle. I think he probably had more trouble with Joseto Lopez than a Mean Machine based on Keith Thurman's style. And Crawford was in there with Mean Machine. I thought he got dropped.
He did get dropped. That was a drop. And also, man, just to inform y'all don't know, but I know. Granados was sick for 5 weeks. He took that fight because he couldn't turn down that check they offered. But he couldn't train or work out for 5 weeks. He had bronchitis.
Which one?
Adrian Granados, when he was fighting Danny. He couldn't train or work out for 5 weeks, man. He was in the bed.
Sir's dropping that Chicago knowledge. That's some Chicago.
He was in the bed. He was in the bed for 5 weeks, but that check was too sweet to let it go.
Yeah. I mean, you got to do that, especially if you're Granado. He game, so shout out to Granado. I like Granados.
If you look at Bud's resume at 147, besides Horn and Kavranakis, the other 3 were washed up fighters. Benavidez had a shot knee. He actually he got shot in the knee. right? He was coming off that surgery.
Yeah.
And Amir Khan, well, we know Amir Khan's story. You know, his chin is weak.
This man
and
said
he
his
washed
story.
up. And Kell Brook had 2 broken orbital bones. So 3 out of the last 5. Okay, the horn I understand because he was champion, whatever. So I understand he took that fight to take the belt. But then after that, he fought 3 washed up fighter and 1 mandatory. And the mandatory dropped him. So I don't know what people are. I mean, listen, Crawford's a great fighter. Like I said, I've been to numerous of his fights, but you know, he's I don't know. It's not even worth.
Glory. If he wants the glory, he got to suffer the consequences, man. If he want glory, he got to suffer the consequences. All the big dudes over in 147, even all the basketball players go to Rucker Park because that's where everybody ball at. Those where all us gods are. The gods of the hoop over there in Rucker Park. And every player that's a player want to go to Rucker to show off their skill. If you got dudes walking around in 147 talking about they chief and you chief, man, it can only be one. So we got to settle that shit.
I think Conrad was trying to jump in there. Let him
my bad.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I just want to just reaffirm, you know, where the conversation is going. And as a newer boxing fan, I just want to reiterate that I just started watching boxing over the pandemic, and some of what this guy Terence Crawford is saying about his resume with, you know, how it compares to, you know, all the other top guys, I don't really think so. I mean, like, just in looking at the last 3 fights, like I'm sorry, I forget the gentleman's name.
Brook.
Yeah. Amir Khan. I need to do my homework on some of these guys, but I've never even heard of this guy, Kavaliauskas. As a newer fan, again, and Kell Brook is a familiar name. I've seen some of his fights, but Errol Spence, I mean, he just is coming off of the fight with Danny Garcia. I watched the Sean Porter fight. That was a fun and entertaining fight to watch. And Mikey Garcia. I mean, I just want to reiterate that just as a newer boxing fan, I don't know the point that this guy Terence Crawford is making when he's trying to compare his resume to Errol Spence's resume. And I can't even say I'm a fan of either one definitively. It's just, I need to see what Terence Crawford is about. I mean, I don't feel like he's really fought anyone recently that can compare to what Errol Spence has gone up against. That's all I got to say.
Respect.
Errol just beat 3 Hall of Famers in a row.
Facts. Okay, has Terence Crawford ever beat a Hall of Famer? Any division?
No.
Why you barked that out? All right, Ari, explain. You said no.
Because if we think about it, his best 2 wins are Posto and Gamboa. I mean, is Gamboa gonna get into the Hall of Fame? I don't think so.
I'm talking about like first round, like Hall of Famer. That's a good question though. Has he beat someone that you would say is a guaranteed Hall of Famer?
And you know, for Crawford to say, "Oh, I don't need Errol Spence, and my legacy is I don't need him for my legacy," he's got to be delusional. Because so you don't fight Errol Spence, and like I said, the best wins is Posto and Gamboa. Who else did he beat after that? You know, yeah, Amir Khan and Brook were big names, but they were washed up.
Just a name.
I don't know. I don't think that's going to get you into the Hall of Fame. I mean, it might because for political reasons, because Bob Arum got everybody in his pockets. But, you know, the legacy-wise, it's going to be, you know, Crawford might go down as one of the best fighters that fought nobodies.
This is my analogy for you guys. Let's say Ari and Surah and myself were at the bottom of a mountain. And there's a legend has it that there's this fruitful tree at the top of the mountain, and it has all the best fruit in this mountain. Surah and Ari are finding plans they looking for twigs and trying to make a ladder, trying to find ropes, tree branches to climb on, figure out how we gonna get this fruit at the top of the tree, right? And meanwhile, I'm on my phone playing around. I'm playing Candy Crush on my phone. They find out a way to get to this tree, and they go, or they to get to the top of the mountain, and they get a basket. They have a makeshift basket, bring all this fruit back down, and they like, yeah, they feasting on it, man. It took us a lot. They sweating and all that, and they eating the fruit, and it's good, and it's delicious, it's a hot day, blah blah blah. And I'm out here, and I want some of that fruit, but I was playing on my phone. I didn't help them get these MacGyver like makeshift baskets and ladders and conspire to get to that top of that mountain. So would it be right for me to enjoy the fruits of the labor, literally, and enjoy this fruit from the top of the mountain that Surah and Ari found a way to get to and get access to? That's what I look at when I think of Crawford. The heavy lifting is being done by Danny Garcia, Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, hell, even Pacquiao, since he's been with Pacquiao's last 2 fights are better than the names and the points of their career that Bud fought. He fought Keith Thurman when he was undefeated and had a belt and was a super champion. Keith Thurman had a higher belt than Pacquiao. He had the super belt. Pacquiao had the regular belt. So using my top of the mountain analogy, Crawford didn't help get these fruits in the basket and figure out how to get to the top of that mountain, but he wants to reap the benefits from it. You see what I'm saying? And I don't know that that's right. I think people would like to see, and not even if it's just right or wrong, Crawford and Errol Spence is a good fight. But the thing is, the more I start thinking, I don't even know if I need to see Errol Spence versus Crawford, because I haven't even seen Crawford versus a Sean Porter or a Danny Garcia or a Mikey Garcia or a Keith Thurman. So how do we just have the Mario Brothers 3 warp whistle and go straight to the top of the mountain, and you didn't help pick this fruit? You see what I'm saying?
No doubt.
If I seen a Crawford and he did what he did to Kell Brook in 4 rounds and he stopped Porter, then I'm like, oh, whoa. Okay, you stopped Sean Porter. He had a titanium chin for the Keith Thurman fight. He stopped Berto. He had a broken hand in the Granados fight and weathered that storm and beat Granados, right? He fought against Danny and took them left hooks and whatever else. He got dropped by Broner, got back up. He fought Errol toe-to-toe and got dropped, got back up. Sean Porter's battle tested. So the more Crawford keeps talking about being A-side, the more I started thinking, I don't even know if I need to see Errol Spence versus Crawford. I need to see something before that as a precursor to see. I'm serious.
I know. I'm agreeing with you, bro. Bud, you ain't fought nobody at 147.
Bro, Crawford, see, that's how I know it's an agenda, because old media keep talking about only Errol Spence and Crawford, which is a good fight on paper. But so is Keith Thurman and Sean Porter, or even a Joseto and Crawford on paper. But they don't want to see none of that, and they want to bypass all them type of fights, which would be, if anything, if Crawford start dogging all them with how they're respected in the welterweight division, that's going to only build the Errol Spence. He's trying to build the Errol Spence, but everyone else is doing the heavier lifting. People can laugh at Danny Garcia and say, oh, haha, he's 0-3. But we don't know if Crawford would be 0-3, 3-0, 0-2, 0-1 if he was fighting those people, because he hasn't fought them. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't knock the best for fighting the best. Like, people laugh at my 49ers. We were in the Super Bowl. We lost to the KC Chiefs, but we made it that far. You see what I'm saying? Your team, I'm from the Bay, so, shout out to it used to be the Oakland Raiders, but I seen Raiders fans and they was laughing at Niners fans like, y'all lost to the KC Chiefs. Y'all didn't even make it. Y'all didn't even make it to the playoffs like that. So, you know what I'm saying? How you going to roast this? That's why I don't understand the energy in boxing. How are we going to roast Danny Garcia for being 0-3 against champions, or for belts at welterweight, but we haven't even seen Crawford to know if he would be 0-3 or 3-0 against those champions, because he top ranked ESPN, Crawford, they're not fighting those types of people. Now, I got to let my man Ness get some. Philly in the building. What's up with you?
What's up with y'all, man?
Good to have you back. Man, we just having a conversation. I don't know if you rocking with what I'm saying, or if you have a different thought process. I don't know at this point if I even need to see the Errol Spence Crawford fight, because there's other great fights that would show me if Crawford can stop all these welterweights or not. If he stops Keith Thurman or Sean Porter, nobody's done that before.
Right.
So that would show me about the pedigree.
I agree with you. I think I would like to see Bud fight a Keith Thurman or a Sean Porter or Danny Garcia. I wanted to see him in competition. Like he's able to wash everybody they put him up against because he's not fighting top quality contenders. You know what I mean? So I think that if he do his next fight should definitely be one of those guys, because if not, I'm not gonna be interested. And before EJ, this is what I'll say. We've seen Bud be so talented fighting. Like technically, there's not many people we've seen box today that box as good as him. But we've seen Errol walk through guys that are at the top level. So that's the argument. Errol got the quality in the level of contenders, whereas the Bud, all he got is just the talent and the skill level. But you can even argue that Errol was up there with him on that level. So you're right in a sense that Bud get a little more credit than he probably deserved because the quality of his contenders and the quality of his competition is just not up to par. So I would like to see Bud versus any of those guys. You know what I mean? I don't need to see him do box Errol right now because I feel like Errol can do anything. You know what I mean? Like he solidified to me. I just had an argument with my god brother because my god brother is a Bud guy, but I don't know how Top Rank shaped the narrative that Errol or EJ is running from Bud. Like from what you like, that's that old media stuff where they shaping the narrative, talking like, oh, he ducking me, doing this or whatever. When we know that EJ been going after everybody for years, like he the one that been calling people out. You know what I mean? Whereas though Bud decided to sign with Top Rank, who historically never put the top fights together when it need to be done. They always get in the way. So I agree with you. I think that I wouldn't mind seeing Bud go against any of the top level guys at PBC. I don't necessarily need to see him go against EJ right away, but I would definitely love to see it either way.
Got you. Let's do a quick speed round. Name the person. Stop me when the person has been stopped in their career. Like, I'm going to name some fighters' names. If they've been knocked out in pro competition, stop me and say the person's name. You guys got it? Sean Porter. Keith Thurman.
No.
Keith Thurman?
No.
Mikey Garcia.
No.
No. He got outclassed, but not.
Danny Garcia.
No.
So I just named several welterweight people because Mikey, he said he's staying at welterweight. None of them have been stopped, but Crawford has stopped everybody he's fought. So if Crawford was able to stop one of those guys that I just named that has never been stopped, I think he's going to get a lot of credit versus Kell Brook, right? Kell Brook, he's been stopped before. We watched that. Mean Machine hadn't been stopped, but he doesn't boast the resume of a Mikey Garcia who's been in there with Broner, who's been in there with Errol, etc. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's the difference. It's just levels and levels to the competition. Yeah, he fought. Jeff Horn hadn't been stopped, but his best win was Pacquiao, and I really didn't think he beat Pacquiao. I thought he almost got stopped too in that fight. And Randall Bailey hurt him, and he's 41 years old. He got cracks though. Shout out to Randall Bailey. You see what I'm saying? So Crawford, he's in between a rock and a hard spot because you have to make the fans believe your opponents really aren't believable. Like you look at these crazy odds. Like if you look at the Danny Garcia odds and Errol, they weren't that crazy. If you bet on Danny Garcia winning, you didn't get that much money. You would have lost your money, but it wasn't no crazy odds. So that shows you the sports book and the people with money, they're betting accordingly. But if you look at the Mean Machine odds and Jose Benavidez odds with Crawford, they're crazy. You bet $100 on Mean Machine, and if he were to win, you win $2,000 to $5,000. Look it up. Same thing with Jose Benavidez. That shows you that the people who are betting money with the sports book know Bud is going to wash these people. But I promise you, Oh yeah, it's probably crazy odd. You bet $100, win 850. You know, good odds on on the underdog. But I promise you, if Bud fought Keith Thurman, it ain't gonna be you bet $100, you get $5,000. If he fought Porter, the odds are gonna be a lot closer. They will probably favor Bud. You know what I mean? But it's not gonna
But
be no crazy odds like that.
but
Matt,
ego, yeah. I mean, isn't there an easy result? I mean, isn't an easy result here? Isn't Sean Porter his mandatory? So his next
yes,
fight should just be Sean Porter. If he mops
yes,
Sean Porter, mops him, knocks him
yes.
out, first time ever. This conversation's back to is a 50-50 fight. Errol and Terrence should probably get a 50-50 split. We seen them just mop Sean Porter. I think that's the logical next business step Terrence should make. Just
But
fight is mandatory and mop him.
See,
but that's the problem, Nuke.
oh,
Yeah,
hold
that's
on, jump in
that's
there,
kind of
Rick.
the problem.
But
That's
this
kind of
this
the
is the
problem.
problem, guys. This is the problem. It's a reason why Bud don't want smoke with the other welterweights, because there's a high possibility he either looks like crap or he gets beat. It's a reason why he's not fighting. Look, I said this before. If you the best, you call it. What's up? You see what I'm saying? It only makes Bud look greater to beat the PBC guys.
But the WBO needs to mandate that fight. I mean, that's his mandatory. His next
They
fight
should.
should be that fight. Like, I
Are they
mean,
going? They're going to do it, right? They're not going to try to weasel. Is it a way they could weasel their way out of that?
Listen,
I
when
don't
it
Yeah,
comes
know.
to
hold
I think
on.
he could
sanction,
drop the belt. I mean, he could drop
Hold
the
on.
belts to
Yeah,
how he
but here's
did.
the thing. You guys got to remember that the WBO is ran by Bob Arum. So Bob Arum will find a way to not let that happen. He's not gonna put that belt up unless it's with versus Errol Spence, because he's not gonna want to lose that belt to a PBC guy.
But
I'm not saying that Crawford will lose to Sean Porter, but Bob Arum has a very good relationship with the WBO, and he calls the shots.
I thought they the ones that.
But he doesn't weasel out of, like, he'll weasel somebody not named Sean Porter, but I would expect Sean Porter's name to be out there enough for him to not be able to weasel past Sean Porter. Plus, that fight will make some money. Like, if you're losing money on Bud, why not put him in there on a fight that might make some money?
But I think that's more of a fan perspective, Matt, what you just said. Like, I think Ari, what he's saying is there's politics involved and they wouldn't want to risk it. I think that's what Ricky and Ari are saying, is like that why risk it? They want the big jackpot at the end of the rainbow, which is Errol or Pacquiao. So they don't want to potentially. Porter does make money with Crawford. That's a great fight, but it's a lesser money fight than Errol Spence or Pacquiao. So Ari and Ricky are of the thinking, and I agree with them, that I don't think they would try to risk it. They want to. If we're gonna cash out, let's cash out for the heaviest bag. You see what I'm saying?
Next fight, I mean, Errol and Pac-Man. I mean, Pac-Man's already sniffing around like this. He wants this to be the next fight. I mean, though he's probably going to take one of the. He's going to take the Garcia fight instead. But I mean, it doesn't seem like Bud's got another opponent until he wants to wait until the end, till 2021.
But it's about doing the heavy lifting. I don't think they care about that. They'll Mean Machine 2 before. You see what I'm saying? Mean Machine 2 or Benavidez 2 or something before they mess up the bag or potentially have Bud in a tougher fight with somebody not named Big Bag Pacquiao, Big Fish Errol Spence. Ness, what were you saying?
I just had a question for all y'all. I thought that Sean Porter said on the commentary that the WBO made it that way. They made it so that they mandated that he was the mandatory. I thought it was under their control that he did that.
Yeah, but first,
case, why would Bob Arum?
Hold on, so get that out. What are you saying?
Why, if Bob runs that, why would he even let them mandate that?
He can't control what the sanctioning body put on their rankings. I don't see how that. Okay. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna put who they work. Here, let me tell you how it works. Did Triple G fight Charlo?
No.
Did Canelo fight Charlo?
Nah.
Did the WBC mandate that Luis Ortiz is supposed to fight Dillian White?
Yeah.
All of this stuff happened and none of those fights happened. So
And he
they
was
can
Devin
mandate
Haney.
whatever they want. They can say whatever. WBC told Dillian White to fight Luis Ortiz. To this day, that fight has never happened. Charlo was supposed to be the mandatory for Canelo. They made him a franchise champion, right? Triple G was the middleweight champion before Canelo, and he was supposed to get Charlo was supposed to get him. And Charlo went through all the little eliminators and stuff, still never got that fight. So I agree with Ari's politics.
They did that with They did that.
Devin?
They did that with Devin and Loma, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like it gets tricky because the politics come into play. Bob Arum made Loma a franchise champion. It reached out to WBC and they created a new position. So Devin Haney never got the opportunity. So now they calling the narrative is Devin Haney, a black fighter, is the 2-time email champion whilst he was trying to fight Lomachenko. You know what I mean? Or he was trying to fight Luke Campbell, but those fights got taken from under him because of Top Rank and the relationships with sanctioning bodies. So you can never go off of sanctioning bodies just because they mandate or put somebody on you up next. Don't mean you really up next, because Charlo would have fought Canelo or Triple G, up next, or even like non-sanctioned things like Andrade and Canelo. Why didn't they unify on his own? They with the same people. Why did Triple G never fight Andrade? It's all politics.
Another one is that we forgot to mention is when Luis Ortiz was with Matchroom, he was mandatory for AJ at one point, and Eddie Hearn somehow weaseled Joshua out of that mandatory fight. So these things happen. There is politics. I think before Crawford fights a PBC fighter that's not Errol Spence, he might end up fighting like someone like Virgil Ortiz, who's an up and comer.
You think that has a better chance of happening?
I think so. I mean, I feel like Bob Arum would see Virgil Ortiz as a less dangerous opponent than any other guys at PBC.
Or Ari, it's been shown since time eternal with Bob. He would rather feed his declining fighter to a new up and coming lion on his side. Hence Loma versus T.O. Right? The duck is in. It's about to be so simple to see what Bud is really at. Right? If you bout it. If you the illest nigga in Nebraska, right? At this point, you take your mandatory and you work him. You work Sean Porter like he ain't never been worked before. Plain and simple. Bud has no leverage. He has to gain some type of leverage, right? If Pacquiao, he's not getting a Pacquiao fight. He might as well let that.
I don't see that.
Santa Claus is not coming. He's not getting a Pacquiao fight. Bob does not want to pay Pacquiao the minimum 20 to 25 mil. I think it's 25 mil that he's asking for now. He's not going to do that. Why can I tell you that? Because even when they was cash rich before the pandemic, they didn't do it, right?
When he was with Top Rank, they didn't do it.
Right. And you can see how they cash poor with how they nickel and dime T.O. and Lomachenko, right? So, but that's what I tell everybody. PBC is playing checkers, is playing chess. Everybody else is playing hopscotch. It's not even checkers, right? All Errol got to do is keep looking good. That's all Errol got to do at this point. The work is done for Errol. The work is done. But what does Terence Crawford have to do to make this fight happen? Because no matter what nobody say, it's on Terence Crawford. The terms are already set. If Errol looks super good against Manny, that 60-40 go to 70-30.
Yeah. And check this out. Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao were with the same promoter, HBO or ESPN, depending on what year it was, right? So they were all on HBO together. Crawford with Top Rank, Manny with Top Rank, correct? Everybody remember that?
Yep.
They were in or around the same division. Crawford was at 40, Pacquiao's at 47, but he fought Chris Algieri at 143, a catchweight in Macau, China. So they were in or around 140, 147. Pacquiao little, he can make 140, 143 catchweight, whatever, right? They never fought. But they kept saying that, hey, the fans want Terence Crawford versus Pacquiao. Never fought. Why would they fight now when Pacquiao left and he got another fight with Al Heyman? You know what I'm saying? When he just beat a young hungry lion and Keith Thurman and Broner. How did Broner, ask yourself this, How did Adrian Broner, coming off a draw with Granados, I think, and some people thought Granados even won that fight. He lost to Mikey Garcia, and then he fought Jesse Vargas. I was at that fight too, and that was a draw. So off of 2 draws and a loss to Mikey Garcia, how did Broner get Pacquiao before Crawford? And Crawford was ripping through competition, and y'all were both with top rank. The proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. Broner,
BBC was
some
willing to pay
people
the
have
freight.
said, hey, Broner done got the discipline and this, that, and the third. And PBC, as soon as Al Heyman and Pacquiao start working together, Broner gets a fight before him. Keith Thurman has been inactive. Derek Rose of boxing. And he had a dry spell of 2 years, injuries, bumper car crash, all this. Still gets a Pacquiao fight before Crawford, who's just been ripping through competition. Proof's in the pudding. Teofimo, he wasn't even a pro when Crawford was beating Gamboa. Do y'all know that?
Yep.
Gamboa was in 2014. Crawford looked like a stud, a sensational performance in Omaha where he drew a crowd. In 2014, Teofimo became a pro in 2017. So 3 years later, but he has already had, in 3 years of work, doing backflips and Heisman dances and Fortnite dances and cooking people. He's been looking good. They fed him Lomachenko, and that was a meaningful performance and a career-defining win. But Crawford been up there with Pacquiao the whole time and never got it. But the likes of Broner and Keith Thurman, who've had dry spells, inactivity, discipline issue, whatever, losses, they get Pacquiao before Crawford.
Right. So what is it? What is
Another thing that I just want to mention, you know, recent article came out that Bob Arum wants to take Teofimo Lopez to fight Camboso in Australia. If Teofimo Lopez allows that, he's going to get done like Pacquiao. You know, Bob Arum wants to take arguably one of his best fighters that he has in his stable and bring him to fight a mandatory to Australia. Come on, man. Like, and then he was talking about bringing Bud to the Middle East to fight somebody, or to Africa or whatever.
Africa.
Like, people are delusional, man. Like, Bob Arum is these guys don't need Bob Arum.
Listen to what my man Ari is saying. You have an American guy from Brooklyn. I heard he's from Florida, but whatever. New York, Brooklyn, Florida, who beat the guy that they said was the bet walks on water, Lomachenko. That's Teofimo. Just beat him. A U.S. American fighter. You're trying to take him out of the country against a guy who barely beat Lee Selby, arguably lost Lee Selby his very last fight with no profile. Why? Like, it's a total momentum killer. Instead of building, like, you should be in my opinion, you should be putting Berlanga and Teofimo on a Rican Day card, even though Teo's not Puerto Rican, but put him in the Garden or something and building them and having Teofimo versus, I don't know, Shakur or whoever, whatever big fight that you can get and making this man bubble. Listen, people keep reinventing the wheel, and what we're saying is very simple. Floyd Mayweather, Grand Rapids, Michigan, that's where his origins are. He made a whole career. Why didn't he fight Ricky Hatton in the UK? Why didn't he? Because the money is here. Mayweather stayed in Vegas his whole career. Since he's been money made, he's been fighting in Vegas. Why he didn't go to Ricky Hatton's backyard in Australia and Turkey and all these, Nepal and all this, Qatar and all this shit? Why he didn't do that? He stayed right here in America, an American star, and he's the most influential boxer of my generation. You see what I'm saying? And that made all the money. Why didn't he leave Vegas? But other promoters, they trying to do fights in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bucharest, just wherever, Australia, like my man Ari said. If Teofimo claims he's the A side over Gervonta Davis, how come an American champion in Gervonta Davis don't have to fight in Australia to make a bag? He could fight in Texas and knock out Leo Santa Cruz, go viral, and make a bag. So you tell me who's the A side when one American fighter has to fight outside of the country, and then Tank Davis selling out Baltimore, selling out at Atlanta. I was there, going to Los Angeles and bringing Drake to the fight and Lil Wayne to the fight. Young Moolah, babe. Why Tank fighting in America? Mayweather Promotion, American LLC and company. They keeping Tank here in various parts of America. Texas. He drawing 10,000 crowds in the pandemic. You know what I'm saying? You put Tank in Vegas, it's going to be lit, especially if we got crowds back. Baltimore, you know that's sold out. You see what I'm saying? But Top Rank and Teofimo and ESPN, they got to bring you. Do you understand Australia is like a day ahead of me on the West Coast? So what time is that even going to come on? Teofimo versus Camboso. What time is that even going to start?
Well, they'll have to fight in Sunday. They'll have to fight like Sunday afternoon so we can get it here on like, yeah, that's what they did with the Pacquiao fight, with the Pacquiao and Jeff Horn fight.
And look at what my man Ari said. He said, check for the setup. Andy Ruiz, I thought he beat Joseph Parker, a New Zealander in New Zealand. They fought. Andy Ruiz really should have won that fight. They gave it to the New Zealander in New Zealand. Jeff Horn, we all know Pacquiao whooped him in Australia. They gave it to the Australian fighter. So why give Teofimo a home game away game like that and put him in Australia? What did Cambosos do versus Lee Selby, seeing how people thought he lost, to get home court advantage? Something's wrong with this picture, y'all.
It's the oldest trick in the book, man. Like, I was just listening to a Roy Jones interview. He said in a couple interviews where he was like, he was supposed to, I think it was middleweight. He was supposed to unify, but he had to go overseas when he had all the other belts. He said, why would I go all the way overseas to get that one title when I got all the belts over here, and he don't want to come over here to, because he would have to go over there because, the guy was the champ if he was trying to get that title. So he's like, why would I do that? He knew the cat was in play. He knew if he'd went over there, it'd been out of his home state, and he would have been able to they would have tried to screw him. So it's the oldest trick in the book, man. And Top Rank, man, they got all these old tricks, man. Like
bro, why would you take? Shout out to Ness, he cooking. My boy Ness cooking from Philly. Listen, why would you take an away game? Teofimo just beat Lomachenko. Why take an away game? Bring Camboso ass over here. Why take an away game?
Leverage.
Bro, why do you think Floyd Mayweather, they tried to get Floyd Mayweather. They was hoping he'd lose. They gave let Maidana have cooked gloves. Floyd was just smart enough. He said, hell no, these gloves ain't got no motherfucking patent. You know what I'm saying? So Floyd, that's why Floyd is the smartest fighter of my generation, business-wise, in the ring, because Floyd, he ain't gonna let you just like jerk him. You see what I'm saying? I'm Money Mayweather. I'm the money team. I got the brand. You fight me where I live in Las Vegas. Why Teofimo just look good versus Lomachenko? He got to go to Australia, and the guy didn't even come off a good performance. What's out there? He got the belts. They pushing this fake undisputed shit because we know Devin Haney got a WBC belt. So he's a fake undisputed. He's a unified champion at that. Why he got to go to Australia? And the guy he don't have the same name brand. Shout out to Camboso. It ain't nothing against him, but I'm just saying that something looked fishy with that picture. These fighters got to wake up and get smarter. That's all I'm saying.
How much time Teofimo got left on his contract? That's going to determine.
That's a good question.
Pacquiao.
That's a great question.
Pacquiao had one fight on his contract, the Jeff Horn fight, and he got cooked on them scorecards because we know Pacquiao really won that fight.
Bob been doing the same thing for decades, man.
Before you leave Bob, he give you a loss. So again, Pacquiao was up for contract. Pacquiao wasn't talking about resigning. Oh, it's okay to get this. If you sign with me, you get that rematch with dude.
Look at Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz was an Mexican-American fighter, undefeated, and he fought in New Zealand against a New Zealander that nobody knew at the time, Joseph Parker, and he really should have won, and he lost. After that, go look at his box record. He didn't fight for 2 years, and he was signed with Top Rank. Why? Like, the whole world thought, I can't say the whole world. A lot of people thought Andy Ruiz beat Joseph Parker. Why'd you put him on the show for 2 years off of a respectable loss at best? And you took him to New Zealand where Duco Events is and Joseph Parker is from. Why give him that? That's what I'm saying. These fighters got to get smart and stop taking these home games. And Crawford,
old racist, man. He's just an old racist.
I'm telling you, man, Crawford, his loyalty is probably going to be his undoing or his pride, because he doesn't see this stuff. He letting people gas him, and then they throw him under the bus. They gassing him and saying, hey, you really the 60-40, not that guy Errol. You were undisputed. You climbed the weight class. None of that matters. At welterweight, Errol's the man, big fish, man down. That's what it is.
He get brolic with the people in the crowd. He get brolic with other fighters. But when Bob come with that MJ glove, he humble down. He tuck his tail. The MJ glove
MJ.
be back and shit.
But like I told y'all, this is what Bud want. That's what y'all don't get. This is what he want. He signed up for this. I keep how many times I'm gonna tell y'all out
Ricky,
there?
you might be right, because he just said to Miss Boxing Baby, she asked a direct question. Are you happy with your career, how it's progressing with Top Rank? He said, it's cool. I can't complain. I didn't get the big fights, but I'm making cool money. This is what he said. He said, I'm making cool money. I can't complain.
It's not even cool money. He don't even know that it's not good money.
Right. I'm not gonna count Bud's pockets, but this is what I'm saying, bro. Look, man, Bud is okay. Bud is okay. That's all I'm saying. He's okay with this. Everybody keep trying to say, okay, Bob, this and that. Bob been doing this for decades. They know. So like I said, why would you go to, just like Ego said, why would you go to this high school and get on JA when you know the best talent is over at that other school playing varsity? Like I said, people don't understand what I keep saying about Deontay Wilder and Errol Spence. They say what they mean and they mean what they say. Errol Spence came in the game. Like, they know who Errol Spence was. The words go around the gyms all over the country. These kids is going and sparring all the top names. Yo, who the best kid out there right now? Bring him in here. Why you think he was in there with Floyd? They know who next up. What did Errol do? He went to the camp, like he said in the breezeway when they was in the breezeway. Bud, Bob, and Errol and they crew. Y'all remember that, right? What did Bud say? He said, yeah, I know you. You tried to sign me. Ain't that what he said to Errol?
Yep.
Yeah, he said that with the red shirt, with the hoodie.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But where did he go? He went to where all the smoke is at. Right. They know. So, like I said, Bud there, just like Errol there, they know where the smoke at. Why you ain't going to the fire?
Let me tell the fans, smash the like button. And to add on to your point, Devin Haney was approached by Top Rank as well. But look at how they he didn't sign to Top Rank. We know that. He's with Eddie Hearn. But look at, now they downplay Devin Haney, another black fighter. They downplay him when it comes to fighting Lomachenko, when it comes to fighting Teofimo. Oh, Devin need to do this, and Devin, is not that good, and whatever. But why'd you want to sign him?
And I'm
out of the amateurs.
And Bob know what's popping, because like we said a couple of weeks ago with Boxing Baby, it's 60-40, right? It's 60-40. Bob come out today 50-50. Right? He know what's popping.
Bro, the bottom line is this as I see it, is like we're in a new digital space of boxing, videos, content, people like myself putting out content daily. The fans are in tune. We know what's going on. Go status, you know what I mean? People see what it is. And these old media tactics, they just don't work any longer. Like where you could just got a couple writers in pocket and they just put these polished pieces out for you, and they still trying the same tactics. Like, we're going to mysteriously think Crawford is the A side because you got a couple writers who are putting that. We see Errol Spence the A side. He's outselling Crawford, ticket sales, pay-per-view, PPV sales. He's fighting better names. He got 2 belts. You got 1 belt. I mean, there's nothing you could write that eliminates those facts. There's nothing. Errol is the A side. To me, like, Bud got to come to the table, like, humbly and just be like, okay, I'm at your mercy. Let's make it happen. But he's saying the opposite. If 60-40, that's a percentage. You still going to get a percentage of whatever this fight does. And he like, nah, if it's 60-40 and if it ain't my favor, no fight. All right, what did you say?
another thing is, like, why would Pacquiao fight Crawford when he knows that Bob Arum screwed him? You know, Manny Pacquiao is more likely to fight Errol Spence because I think that's a bigger money fight.
I don't think you can say think. I think it is okay. They have a common denominator. Pacquiao headlined AT&T Stadium, Clottey Margarito. Errol headlined AT&T Stadium against both Garcias, Mikey and Danny. Terence Crawford ain't never, for whatever reason, headlined no football stadium. You see what I'm saying? Like bro, that place packs out 80 to 120,000, and I've been in it for an Errol's fight at that. You see what I'm saying? Crawford, Jeff Horn did 8K, 8,000 tickets. Errol Spence doubled that, 16K in that same venue versus Danny in the pandemic, where people, some people lost their jobs and stuff like that. I mean, you're not going to make the math make sense for Crawford, and sway it his way. You see what I'm saying? Keep going, Ari. My bad.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, why would Manny Pacquiao, especially when Manny Pacquiao is that stage of his career that he might want to cash out? Why would he fight Terence Crawford for less money than he could fight Errol Spence?
Yeah, a dangerous fight.
And it's easier. And another thing is, it's easier fight to make because they're both fighting on PBC without Heyman.
And you owe them a fight, I think.
Pacquiao, yeah, I think so. And Pacquiao will keep more of his money. If he fights on Top Rank, Bob Arum's going to rape him. So I don't see Crawford getting that fight.
Here's a real serious question for you guys. If, in terms of how Bud has been branded in his last couple fights and everything, is Pacquiao Mikey Garcia a bigger commercial success or Crawford and Pacquiao? Not what you personally want to see, but in terms of a commercial success, meaning fight fans will buy tickets for it, right? And also pay-per-view buys and live gates. Let's say there's no pandemic. Is Pacquiao Mikey Garcia a bigger commercial success or Crawford and Pacquiao based on how each person's career has been handled? Let's hear.
I think
Hold on, one at a time. Let's go one at a time. Whoever
first.
Yes.
Go, Mikey. I think after that, I'll go. I think after Saturday, it got to be Errol. I think Errol.
No. That's not. I'm asking Mikey Garcia versus Pacquiao. I'm just talking about Mikey versus Pacquiao or Crawford versus Pacquiao. What does more pay-per-view buys? What does more ticket sales? Let's say there's no Rona. What is the bigger commercial success? Let me get to my man Ricky while you think about that, Ness.
Yeah. Mikey Garcia versus Pacquiao, easy.
Exactly.
Right. And the reason why is both of them have a huge following. Both of them have a lot of fans. Of course, we know Pacquiao gonna bring the world with him, including his home country. We all know Mikey's gonna bring all the Latin crowd, and plus it's a story behind it because Mikey been trying to get Pacquiao longer than Terence been trying to get him because they sparred with him, so they know each other. So the build up would be good. It'll be gravy. It'll kill at the box office.
And I think was Robert Garcia training Margarito when he fought Pacquiao?
No, I don't think so.
Maybe not. I don't know. I was gonna say Garcia's Garcia at the very least, Garcia. Well, I know he was with Brandon Rios, so he's battled that trainer before. He will
go there for sparring sessions. Yeah, he will go there for sparring sessions. So he was involved in that because when he was training for Pacquiao.
Yeah, I know for a fact the Brandon Rios fight was Robert Garcia. So in terms of backstory, because I remember they had that Freddie Roach got kicked by Ariza and that whole little shenanigans. So yeah, so they definitely have a backstory.
Yeah.
Do y'all think the iron's still gonna be hot for Mikey, even though he's been inactive for a while?
Listen, when it comes to boxing, it's ticket sales. Do you think the iron's gonna be hot for Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather?
Hell yeah.
it's not like you as a real boxing fan, you probably don't care about that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But I'm telling you, it's an event. You just seen it with Mike Tyson and Roy Jones. These motherfuckers 50 and almost 60 years old, but they outselling people. So you got to understand, hardcore boxing fans might be like, Errol cooked Mikey, so I'm off that fight. But casual fans who just know Mikey, bro, Ellie Sekback got millions of views from the Robert Garcia gym. They're always they're known about in boxing. You see, it's a boxing family. So I think commercially, it'll still be a success. And then let me one up that. We all know Pacquiao versus Conor McGregor would outsell Pacquiao versus Crawford. So with coming off a tough fight with Keith Thurman, I think, like Ari's saying, Pacquiao's going to fight Mikey Garcia, Conor McGregor, or Errol way before he fights a Crawford. Crawford, you fight someone who's ambidextrous, could be a very difficult and tricky style for less money. The man has not been branded like Conor McGregor has been branded over the last 5 years, or Mikey Garcia, who comes from a fight family with a respected resume, or Errol Spence, we know, doing numbers and stuff.
It's simple like this, right? Manny Pacquiao and Floyd made great numbers on pay-per-view, right? As compared to Floyd versus, let's say Floyd versus Robert Guerrero, right? Contrary to popular belief, Bud Crawford ain't that popular. He's not a household name as in coming to boxing. We know him, right? But as Ego keeps saying, he has no brand. He has no leverage. It's like having no followers on IG. He has no leverage. He's known in boxing circles, but as far as an event, he's not it. All his stuff goes double plastic.
And this is not a knock on anybody's state. This is actual fact. You guys Google this. Nebraska, the state of Nebraska, as of the Googled, whatever the last survey they did of the population, 1.9 million. There's 1.9 million people that live in Nebraska. You know how many people live in Texas? 29 million. So Errol Spence is from a naturally bigger state with a naturally bigger populace. I know people that live in San Antonio that go and went down to Errol Spence fights in Dallas. You've seen the Charlos from Houston. They flew down to go see Errol in Dallas. He's from a bigger state. So it's just, he has this crazy aura right now in boxing. Conor McGregor, we know he's lit. You know what I'm saying? We know he's popular. And the same thing with Mikey. Mikey's from California. These are the biggest states, and they're known about. So I think commercially, and Mikey been in better fights than Crawford in the last 5 years?
Absolutely.
Yes.
See, that's what I'm saying. We've seen Mikey versus Broner. That was a big fight. We've seen Mikey versus Errol in front of 51,000. Crawford has not had that commercial success based on who he's been in there with. It's that simple. So
Another thing.
Hold on one second, Ari. To expect the Pacquiao and Crawford fight, people are looking at it from a small prism of a hardcore boxing fan's perspective. I like the fight. We're talking about I like the fight, and the whole world likes the fight and wants to pay for the fight. The commercial success of the fight. What was that, Ari?
Another thing is that you were talking about location. Location is key. You have, let's say Pacquiao fight Mikey Garcia. You can make that fight in Texas. You can make it in California. You can make it in Vegas. Those are big fights. When it comes to Crawford, Crawford typically fights in Nebraska, or he fights in New York. He fights at the Garden. But it's not, how many people from Nebraska are going to come out here to watch him fight? You know what I'm saying? The fans that Crawford has in New York are people that are from around here that are going to watch him fight. But if you have Mikey, who is of Mexican descent, because Texas has a huge Mexican population, California has a huge a huge Mexican population. So these
Arizona,
all these places, they'll go watch him fight. It's a bigger event. And like I said, Manny versus Errol Spence, same thing. Put it in Vegas, put it in California. You could put it in Texas. It's just gonna sell more.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're gonna continue. I'm about to wrap it up, but I want to continue the conversation at a later date. I just feel like Crawford has not. See, this is the thing. This is my whole thing. Last closing statements for me, at least, is Crawford's team has not branded him to become a household name, and you can't undo or make up 5 years of lacking this type of promotion and exposure and make that ground up to catch up to Errol Spence, because Errol Spence it's like the tortoise and the hare.
Yes.
Everybody know the fable, the tortoise and the hare. That's what this was. Crawford reached the masses with the Gamboa performance fast. Like he just went from Bradis Prescott, you're like, okay, who's this dude? To Gamboa. So he got there fast. Errol Spence, it's been like more of a gradual, slow and steady wins the race. And Errol, we went and watched different phases of Errol. The boogeyman, where he was calling out everyone and they was little boy in him and say, nah, get a belt. Your resume sucks. You know, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Keith, they were all telling him to do stuff. Pacquiao wasn't looking his way. So we watched almost a maturation of Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? Slow and steady wins the race. He went from prospect and unheard of to war stories with Floyd Mayweather in the gym. And did he get the best of Floyd? Did he get a black eye with Floyd? And did he knock out Broner? And you start hearing about the legend of Errol Spence. Then he was getting Lil Boyd and Son by people who are more accomplished, Keith Thurman. And he was the boogeyman calling him out, to now what we just seen last Saturday. So it's been a slow and steady progression up. You can't make that up in a month, a year. You know what I'm saying? There's a quick point that I want to add, because this is one of my iconic people that I idolize, Kobe Bryant. He has a great interview where he talked about, he says, what separated me from a lot of dudes in the league, a lot of dudes get to the league, they get a bag, and they felt like they made it. But I kept the same work ethic. If not, I worked harder when I got to the league. He said, so every day I would practice something crazy, 5-6 hours a day. He said, other dudes I knew, they got a bag and they was only practicing during the summer camp. And he's like, you can't make up that ground. I'm doing this every single day, 5-6 hours a day, 5, sometimes 7 days a week. You can't make that up in 3 months of a training camp. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm stacking all this work and all this knowledge and, you know, practicing my shots and stuff like that. That's what it's been with Errol Spence. It's been a slow, steady grind. And it's like all the PBC guys. Tank, we watched Tank for years. Pedraza fight was years ago. And then now he's just now cooking Leo Santa Cruz on pay-per-view. Terence Crawford, he reached that quick with the Gamboa, and they haven't really done nothing with him since that. Some people are still saying Crawford's best win is Gamboa or Postal. Am I wrong? Does Crawford have a better name on his resume than Gamboa or Postal in the eyes of most?
Crawford's still talking about those fights.
See?
Crawford.
Great, Ness. That's a great point. That's what I'm saying. And those fights were in 2016 and 2014, and we in 2020. That's, you know, like 4 years ago, 6 years ago, or whatever. So it is what it is. I appreciate you guys for the time. Anybody have any closing thoughts real quick?
Hey, it's good to see y'all guys, man. It's good to talk to you guys again.
Yeah, Ness. Sir, what you got to say? I know you
Shit. Bob Big Pimpin', he said Pimpin' ain't dead, the hoe just scared.
I'm done. Matt, good luck with your dog. Let me know how that goes. Ari, thank you for being here. Eloy, Conrad, New, Ricky Williams, close us out with Crawford. I know you like the subject matter.
Like I said, y'all, Bud don't negotiate with terrorists, man. He in a horror movie and don't even know it.
Okay, what does Ricky Williams want for Crawford next?
I want Porter.
You don't mind? Do you care if Porter goes to ESPN?
No, I don't care.
Okay, you just want to see that fight.
I want to see that fight. I gotta see something. I gotta see
great
something.
Fight, bro.
But like I said, this gonna prove what he is. I already know he a duck. I told y'all this. I've been telling Ego this. You can ask him. I've been telling Ego this forever. That Crawford's a duck. But this gonna prove it. This gonna prove it, right? But like I said, it don't even matter why we having this conversation, because Bud don't like to negotiate with terrorists.
Last question, speed round from whoever want to answer. Will Terence Crawford re-sign with Top Rank when his contract's up in October 2021? Go.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Matt says, oh, there's 2 yeses to Sura's no.
No, I'm gonna say no. No.
Okay.
No. I'm gonna give him
I'm gonna say yes, because he's too complacent.
Oh, 3 yeses and 2
He's
no's.
happy.
Comfortable.
He's happy.
Damn.
He loves it out there.
He
All
all right.
We gonna find out, man.
He all right.
Hey, Ego, I want to say one thing. Philly is doing okay. You know, we took that L on Saturday with Danny, and I noticed something. See, I'm an Errol guy anyway, so I was good, but my family kind of hurt, so a lot of them going toward Bud era. They going
Oh, I got you.
a lot of Philly is turning to Bud now. And I'm trying to keep them level headed. Like, yo, we got EJ was the guy before Danny, so you still got rock with EJ, but you know, his fan base is growing in Philly, just to say that.
EJ was born on the East Coast, man. EJ from the East Coast.
Yep.
He was born on the East Coast.
Philly,
He was born in New
Philly
York.
should be worried about
Yeah.
pushing Jerron because Jerron's gonna mop everybody in the division once EJ moves up. Like,
Yeah,
Okay.
Boots. Yeah, y'all
Jerron's-
tripping. Y'all got one with Boots. This motherfucker.
This Boot versus Van Haren fight gonna be a smoker, y'all. Don't miss it.
Oh, you gonna
Y'all,
do
this
a
fight
you
gonna be
gonna
a
be-
smoker.
Yeah, Boots is real.
It's gonna be a smoker.
Van Herden is
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah, whatever the fans want. Yeah, that sounds good.
You-
We'll see. We're gonna see what Terence Crawford decides to do. I appreciate you guys for your time as always. Easy
Solid.
work Wednesdays, solid.
Peace to the gods.
Peace out, y'all.
Peace to the gods.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.